The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Gerard with episode number 16 of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network, a random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. Listen in.
Hello. This is Amber, the production assistant for the Florida Podcast Network, and I'm here with your host, Gerard. What's up, Gerard?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey. We have two amazing guests, Silvana Roncal and Jennifer Perez. They are a mentor-mentee duo, and they're part of a nonprofit organization called LEAP, which stands for Ladies Empowerment and Action Program. And just a little bit of background of what this organization does. So women in the business and finance industries, they mentor incarcerated women at the Homestead Correctional Institution by teaching them entrepreneurial skills and life skills that'll help them transition back into society once they're released.
Can I just say that LEAP is an amazing program, and you will see through the interview that this is specifically catered to one particular correctional facility in Homestead. I am hoping that people will be inspired to, implement this type of thing in many other places. I was about to say countrywide, but we know that that's not the way things work. But if we can just inspire one person, one state, one person in power, then we'll have done a good job.
I know, because I feel like I haven't really heard about a program like this. And even Silvana says in the interview that they are like the only holistic organization that focuses on these things for incarcerated women. That's kind of wild when you think about it. I mean, you would think that there'd be more programs like this.
I'm just surprised that we aren't being more progressive as far as our prison system being more for helping people get back into society and showing them the paths to redemption. Now, whether or not they redeem themselves is up to them. But at least give them the tools. And, rather than punishment, I think that this interview is a great insight into how it can actually work. Their
story is such a great illustration of how important mentorship can be. You'll hear in the interview, Silvana really emphasizes that for a lot of these women, this is their only chance at a better life.
It was very powerful to me that she made a distinction between what most people think about as a second chance and what she described as the only chance. And when you really look at it, and if you do your research, and if you search your heart, and if you really get into the meat of the issue, for many people, it is their only chance. And so that's why I was very proud and honored to be part of this interview.
Yeah, it's a pretty captivating conversation. And I'm not just saying that because we were involved in it, but
yeah,
it really is. Especially hearing like Jennifer's take as the mentee, as someone who was formerly incarcerated. And listeners, you're going to hear that this woman is absolutely thriving today, not to give any spoilers. And by the way, if you know anyone who you think is a fascinating Floridian, they don't have to be mentors or mentees, just someone who is moving and shaking.
You can do anything. I mean, we interviewed Max Stryker for God's sake. I don't remember what interview it was, one of our earliest interviews. If you have a significant Florida connection and you're doing something interesting, something moving, something that's powerful, something that's real, that connects to humanity, holla at Amber and holla at us.
Yeah. We actually have a submission form, a guest submission form on our website, or you can email me at amber@flintstonemedia.com. And yeah, we would love to hear all about all the fascinating Floridians. That's the goal, Gerard, of the show. We're going to find all the fascinating Floridians and have them on the show. We will get to episode 1 million. And yeah.
One day.
All right. enough banter. Let's get into your conversation with Silvana Roncal and Jennifer Perez of LEAP.
Hello, today we are here to highlight all the good that's being done by the Ladies Empowerment and Action Program, also known as LEAP. And I'm here with two guests that can enlighten us as to two separate sides of the program. We've got Silvana Roncal and Jennifer Perez. Silvana is the chair of the board of directors of LEAP, I believe, and Jennifer is a former mentee who's successfully gone through the program. Silvana served as a mentor to Jennifer, and so we're going to hear great stories about not only what LEAP does in general, but also specifically how it's affected. We're going to put faces to the real world impact that this great nonprofit does. How are you ladies today?
Great. Thank you so much, Gerard, for inviting us.
It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to this conversation and to learn more about what LEAP does, particularly, after having lived in Scandinavia for a bit and learned more about how they deal with kind of the prison system and the prison to the redemption pipeline and entering back into society. They seem to do it at a government level, really supporting inmates while they're there. It seems to me more here in America, we have to depend more on organizations like yours to do that work. So can you explain to me what LEAP is and how does it help ameliorate that transition from prison life to getting back into society?
I'm glad you mentioned what you just did because we are in Florida the only nonprofit that provides the services that we do. As the name of the institution says, we empower women that were formerly incarcerated by starting with 3 programs that create a safety net for their reentry into society. We start with providing education in prison before their release. We have a thrift store, which is located on 8th Street and 41st Avenue in the Little Havana area of Miami, where our ladies are employed. Our general manager is one of the graduates of our program. And we also provide housing. And this program basically alleviates the process of release, of reentering the community, which, as you know, creates tremendous level of anxiety. Most of our graduates, when they leave prison, they live with a $25 prepaid card that they need to activate, and they don't have a cell phone. And they're left at the door of the prison without any transportation. And if they don't have family, they're basically looking at a very not comfortable situation, to say the least.
Right. And so the LEAP, I guess, fills in that gap. You guys describe it as a holistic approach. I like that. Let's talk about the mechanics of how this actually works. So if I'm an inmate, how do I get involved in LEAP? What is the process? Is there a certain criteria? How do I find out about your organization in the first place? I mean, I assume, I've seen your website. It's a wonderful website with amazing stories, very inspiring. Mm-hmm. But with limited internet access, how do I find out about you, and what do I have to do to get on board?
Well, that's a very good question. We have been in business for 13 years now. So by now, we do most of our recruiting in Lowell, which is the second largest women's prison in the U.S., and that's north of Miami. So if you're an inmate, you already have heard of LEAP and have heard probably some of the most redeeming stories. We have a 95% success rate with what is called recidivism rate. And most of the inmates already know there are several programs in prison offered either by the government or by religious organizations, but we're the only one that provides entrepreneurial education, which is key when you get out of prison to be able to, not necessarily employment because your record might prevent that, but allows you to create a small business with that information. So it's very popular. Everybody knows about it, and it has a process, a filtering process in which they need to apply. And when they apply, they need to tell us why they want to become part of LEAP. What is it that they're looking to do and benefit with LEAP? We interview 2 to 3 times a year. We interview about 100 to 125 inmates, of which we select on average around 20 to 25 for the program. And it's a very rigorous program. Everybody knows that entering LEAP, it's sort of like entering Harvard to a certain degree. Once they get accepted, the program is approximately, it used to be 8 months. It's become shorter now because of COVID, but 5 months approximately, in which not only do we teach entrepreneurial skills, but we also teach a lot of soft skills like thinking for a change and a lot of rehabilitative program modules that help them with the main problem before they can really concentrate on the entrepreneurial side, which is our main goal at the end of the day.
Wow. Sounds like Jennifer should feel very, very proud of herself, having made it through such a rigorous selection process. It sounds like your goal in teaching business and entrepreneurial skills is to kind of thwart the issues that inmates tend to get as far as trying to find a job. So it's like, hey, look, you know what? Pave your own way, start your own business. Here's how you do it. Because that is probably one of the number one headaches and stresses that former inmates have to deal with is finding a job and paying the bills. Am I on the right track or am I missing something?
You're absolutely on the right track. It was very difficult. And I actually wasn't you said I'm very proud and very lucky. I actually had to go through their application process, not once, but twice. I didn't get accepted the first time and I was completely traumatized. So I had to do it again.
Now, was the first time because for some unknown reason, or was it because of the interplay between the graduation date for the LEAP program and your release date?
That was the issue right there. And then when it came around again and I was able to get into the second class because of my EOS date, they actually had to change the graduation date on that class based on my EOS date.
I would also like to add that it's not that we do this selection on purpose. We do our own fundraising, and there's a limited capacity of the amount of ladies that we can help. And we wish we could enlarge that, but unfortunately, that's not the case. We do not receive any assistance from the government. We have just been told that we are now included in the budget for Miami-Dade County with a very sizable grant. So we're hoping to obviously service more ladies.
So this is the first of at least 2 times I'm going to say this out there to our audience: donate, donate, donate. Okay, so we'll get back to that. It's I can say that because it's my show. So write those checks, people. Why don't we get into the personal relationship between the two of you? Now, I know that, Silvana, you have a decades-long experience in the finance industry, starting on Wall Street and then ending up here in Miami. How did you end up being involved with LEAP and more specifically ending up as the chair of their board?
It started in Wall Street. I have an ex who I found on LinkedIn when she moved to Miami probably about 16 years ago, but I was never able to get in touch with her until approximately 7 years ago. And we went out to lunch and she told me she was retired. She did very well in the market. And she had a symbol on her shirt that caught my attention. And I said, well, what is that symbol? And she says, well, I'm the founder of LEAP. And I said, oh, tell me about it. And she never asked for anything. She just basically explained the mission. And I was very intrigued. And I said, whatever you need, please count on me. And I received a call about a month later saying, I really need you. We're looking for mentors. We have a class graduating and the ladies need help. And I had no idea what she meant by that. But I was very intrigued about going into prison because I've never been into one. And I said, sure, I'll help you out. And it basically entailed providing support, since the ladies do not have access to internet, in their creation of their business plan. They needed some research, they needed some background. So we met with the ladies in prison. I had no idea who I was assigned to. It was a 1-to-1 at the time. So when I arrived, they put us in a room and then they invited us over to join the ladies. And I my eyes went straight to Jennifer, thinking, oh my God, she looks like you could tell, very vivacious, her eyes, her whole demeanor. And I thought, oh, what a cool lady. And lo and behold, she had been assigned as my mentee. And that's how the relationship started.
Wait, it was completely by accident that she happened to be
completely by accident.
So you had this kind of
Yes,
kind of connection, and that also just happened to be the person you were assigned to. Well, it looks like it was meant to be.
Correct. I don't, what can I say? It has to, yes, I think so. And so we started with a questionnaire. She was ready. She was prepared. She was extremely eloquent. And I was my jaws were dropping as she was talking. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she will be helping me more than I can help her. So that's how it started. That's
fantastic. I want to kind of go back to where we're all in this room together, where you have your first meet and greet, and you first laid eyes on Jen, and it was mentorship at first sight. Now, I know that my audience is going to want to know Jen's story about how she ended up in that room with Silvana. And I'm going to say this. I know that they expect me to ask specifics about your story. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do, Jen, is just ask you, what is your story? And in your own words, and you can disclose as little or as much as you want, what is the path that led you into that room with Silvana on that day?
So the path that led me into that room that day, I have to tell you that I was so nervous. I was so nervous and I was scared, because you have incarcerated women that, were getting all hyped up because they were telling us about our mentors coming in, and they told us a little bit about like the mentors that they had selected. So we knew that most of these mentors were not just like some random people. We knew that they were, that these were of statute coming into the prison to meet us. And here we are, we're convicted felons. We feel like that they're the last people that the society wants to interact with. And here we have a whole group of them coming to meet us. I feel like I was already preparing myself for Miss Silvana, because that was one of the ladies that they talked about very much so. And they said that our personalities would definitely mesh well together with how she was and how I was. But Miss Silvana is absolutely correct. As soon as we walked into that room, I know that my nervousness subsided, and I became completely comfortable in the room, and conversation came very natural. I didn't feel like she was there judging me. I didn't feel like she was. Most of them were scared to be in the room full of convicted felons. But they made everything very comfortable. They were there and they were intrigued by us. I feel like they were more impressed by us than we were by them. Like, because because I feel like people get this notion of convicted felons that we don't have common sense, or we don't have a brain.
Wow. So you guys hit it off, obviously. And then now we've got a moment in time where the trajectory of your life, Jen, changed for the better.
Absolutely.
Now, this LEAP touts that it teaches not only business skills and how to create a business plan, but also life skills. Can you tell us a little bit about the life skills and kind of the business plan process?
Absolutely. So LEAP went through a lot of different stages. They focused on different areas, obviously self-esteem, transition into back into society. We focused a lot on depression, things like that. And we kind of did these little counseling sessions, and we had our different groups on what days were going to be like classroom time or our business plan time. And I know a lot has changed since. I was fortunate to get most of the benefits of LEAP because when I graduated, they had an amazing system of volunteers and people that were reaching out to do what they could for LEAP. But I definitely developed my business plan. I still am intending on doing my business plan. My business plan is called AJ's Event Catering. Okay. I still have everything that I have. And the whole thing, the whole financials, the brochure, the business cards. I did the whole 9 yards while I was in there.
I like it. I love it.
I still have the designs, the logos, and it's still a process. It's still going to be something that I push off. Obviously, I chose a little different of a path when I first got out. only because I had to come back to the Duval County, and the resources for LEAP didn't go as far as that went. Do you see what I'm saying? So I was only able to utilize the resources around the Miami-Dade area. So when I came back to Duval from my kids, the sources for LEAP kind of dissipated a little bit for me, but it never dissipated mine and Miss Roncal's connection, that's for sure.
Well, I know that as a fact, having learned about how you guys kept in touch after you graduated in 2015?
Yes, sir.
Right. So we're talking 6 years ago, and you guys definitely kept in touch. But not only that, I guess you had gaps that needed to be filled as far as some furniture and some other things. And Silvana, a woman of her word and who genuinely cares about you, came to the rescue. Why don't you tell us a little about that?
Absolutely. So I stayed down in a transition home that they had put me into. And then this was one of the issues and one of the things that I had tried explaining to LEAP when I was dealing with some of my transitional back into to society. At the time, they didn't have their home. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have their house for the LEAP graduates to go to once they got out. So they were only put into transition homes but those transition homes are basically kind of brought it on like AA and NA and things like that. So it's like you're going into a halfway house and you have to complete their steps in order to successfully complete their program or to stay into their halfway house. Well, they were things that weren't obviously based on my issues. I didn't have a drug issue or anything like that. That wasn't what placed me in there. So it was kind of like I was just doing extra stuff. And then, of course, I had to just go back to Duval County to be with my kids to try to get my kids back. So when I went to Duval County, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a place to go to. So my sister took me in. My sister having 7 kids and living in a 2-bedroom apartment wasn't the best idea. So I had to hurry up and get a place, and I had to hurry up and get a place ASAP. So I got 3 jobs. I got my place within 3 weeks after going back to Jacksonville. I didn't have nothing to put in the house, though. Nothing. Miss Roncal, she came to the rescue. She got a U-Haul. She put the word out around the office. I don't know where she got all this furniture. I don't know what she did. I don't know. But she piled it in this little itty bitty U-Haul. And she came and she furnished my kids' bedroom. She not only furnished their bedroom and gave us 2 computers and a computer desk. They gave them clothes and gift cards and school supplies for my twins because they had just started pre-K. But she did all of that. She did all of that. And not only was she there for that achievement in my life, I also graduated FSCJ with my bachelor's degree, and she was there.
Congratulations. I know she encouraged you to pursue that.
That's awesome. She's awesome.
Absolutely. So she was definitely there with, I believe I sent in a picture of her with me and the twins and my mom in that picture. She's been there at every achievable moment. And anytime something great and big happens, or even when I reach out to her. I know sometimes our lives get a little crazy and hectic, and we lose contact a little bit, but she's always there, always there.
Well, I just wanted to point out something about not only Silvana's continuing dedication and her generosity, and from pure determination and love, she helped you out in that way. But that is not what I consider to be charity. I consider that to be an investment in you. And obviously that's paid off and will continue to pay off in Doves in the future. And so people need a helping hand sometimes, especially right at the beginning. I can only imagine what it's like to step outside those doors for the first time. And it's only reasonable for people to need a little bit of push, but it's kind of like rolling a snowball down a hill. You know, you just get it started and it will grow exponentially.
A lot of people say those are second chances. We think that sometimes it's the only chance they get. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind. What I can tell you is we've gotten to a point where the first day we met, she said she wanted to do catering. The next thing I know, she's the manager of a restaurant chain. And then she says, oh, I'm being asked to be a managing partner. could you review my contract? And here I am calling the executive director of LEAP, who's a lawyer, saying, let's sit down and review this contract. This is amazing.
Right.
And now where we need her to become part of our point person in Lowell, because we're moving into that prison to extend our program, she's the first person we contact her. So yes, the investment is paying off for everyone.
So you just, Silvana, you just mentioned that Jen is now the managing partner of Metro Diner is that Oviedo, Florida? Jen?
Correct.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Right. So I'm going to do a little plug on your behalf for the Metro Diner. Everybody go and get a fantastic meal. So aside from that, Jen, where are you now and where are you going?
So when I got out of prison, I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's.
Right.
It was hard. And
you're not alone, sadly. That's the crux of the issue, right?
Absolutely. And
Exactly.
I had to hold on 3 jobs for a couple of years. And then I ran across this company called Metro Diner. Now, mind you, things have changed since I've got moved up the ladder. It's not the same way as it was when I first got hired. And I believe that I've kind of just been, I don't know if it's just my luck or if it's just some supernatural power. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure what people's religious views are. I'm not sure. I just know that I just somehow seem to kind of always fall in the right place at the right time when it comes to the last 7 years of my life with the LEAP program with Ms. Roncal, and then my other mentor, Mr. Chris Wade, that works for Metro Diner also. And when I started off at Metro Diner almost 6 years ago, I started off as a server, and I've worked my way all the way up. And now I officially I'm the managing partner of the Oviedo one, and I'm about to celebrate my 2-year anniversary on December 18th as the managing partner. I opened up this diner. I opened up the doors on July 23rd, 2019. This isn't my end game, but I wanted to do this 5-year contract, take the money, invest it into my catering company that I want to start and flourish. And my heart, though, continues to want to help out the program that helped me. So now we're correlating together on figuring out how I can somehow get this program and these classes started back up in LEAP, and how I can somehow be a part of it.
Well, you've definitely got a plan, and you've done so much, and I think it's a great story. Now, but I just wanted to kind of sharpen something that you said about being very lucky. It reminds me of that line from Titanic where the bad guy, I forget his name, but he says that he makes his own luck, and in a way, I believe in that to a certain extent. But whether you want to call it God or Confucius, Buddha, or the lion from Narnia, it doesn't matter, okay? You have to help that entity. I always say, help God help you. And you have to be prepared for opportunity. And so you might call it luck, but at the end of the day, you had to prepare yourself for the opportunities that were presented to you. And yes, for that, you should be very, very proud. And I hope that our listeners kind of let that marinate a bit in that, you have to position yourself for good things to happen. And they certainly are happening to you, which warms my heart to no end. This question's coming. Jen, tell me, if you had to sum it up, and you've got her on the phone now, what has Silvana done for you?
Silvana herself has inspired me in more ways than I think that she'll ever know possible. Or she was like the mom that I wish I had at the time. I do have a great relationship with my mom now, but it took me years to learn how to forgive and forget, and to be able to heal old wounds. I think that Miss Silvana coming into my life, and then with us creating the bond that we did, and with her even sharing things about her personal life with me, she helped me forgive my mom on things that I didn't know that I was still harboring.
Wow.
And
that's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, and then the ways that she encouraged me, even when I felt like, okay, I think the fight might be a little bit over right now, or I think, no, Jen, the fight's not over. You're going to get she always gave me that boost and that encouragement to never, ever, ever stop.
That's amazing. And I have a question for you, Silvana, and this comes from my own experience, having been a mentor in Big Brothers Big Sisters when my little was 8 years old. His name is Ronald. Now I think he's just turned 27, and he's changed my life in ways that are indescribable. So my question to you is, what has Jen taught you?
As I was listening to what she just said about me, all I can think is that it's probably nothing compared to what she has done for me. And I don't know if I've ever told her this. I come from a Latino background where we live in very close community societies. And there we turn to be very judgmental. And you can imagine all the preconceptions that I had when I first started this process. And she had taught me so much about how to change to a point where I've worked so hard to take judgment out of my life, to really give people the chance, and to a point where I honestly believe that people are good in nature and that they just need to be guided. It's helped me be a better manager in my business. I mean, it's undescribable how important this is when dealing with people. And she has been a constant inspiration to me. We as women have shared certain private information that it's been very important, because at the end of the day, one thing I've learned is that we're all human. We all need to help each other. And this has been a tremendous learning experience, my relationship with Jennifer.
I think it would be surprising to many people how symbiotic a mentor-mentee relationship can actually be. If it's with the right person, it is not one-sided at all. And it seems like that's definitely the case here. One thing I know, Silvana, that you taught Jen is to not take no for an answer. And I think it has to kind of deal with getting out of the mentality of, when you're locked up, the guards and whomever else, they're constantly telling you, no, you can't do this. Everything's very rigorous and structured, and you're hearing no all day long. Jen, can you just quickly tell us how Silvana helped you break out of that mindset to embrace not taking no from anybody?
Yes. Well, for one, just Miss Silvana being who she is, and the fact that she's so empowering, and being a woman that absolutely refuses to take no from anybody is inspiring in itself. So that is just that's something that I wanted to take with me anyway. Like, okay, I love how she is. I love how she talks. I love how she commands the presence in a room.
So she leads by example, basically. Yeah,
absolutely. And I needed to take that with me in my management career. And I still go back and I replay those first moments in my head when she always used to tell me, you have to command that presence, and you have to just don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, Jen. And because even still, I still make when I'm making a decision, I'm like, am I making the right decision? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I doing it the way that my mentor would be doing it? And I do that question all the time. But absolutely, when it's not taking no for an answer, and I can tell you that I have not taken no for an answer since I've been out this time. I don't, and I don't think I ever will when it comes to my career, my kids' life. I don't think I'll ever take no for an answer again.
WWSD, what would Silvana do? Right? Absolutely. Okay. Well, listen, this has been, I feel like I could talk to you all forever. But before we go, I just want to ask you, are there any events, or is there anything involving LEAP or anything else, personally or otherwise, any events that you would like to promote while you're here with me on the mic?
Yes. So we have an event called Give Miami Day, where we're going to have the day before a pitch competition. Our graduates, 3 or 4 of our graduates, will present in front of a panel of judges from the community, entrepreneurs, lawyers, high-profile members of the community. They will present their business plan. and they will be judged. They will be encouraged to perfect their plan, and there will be a winning prize. We'd like to have people attend that pitch competition. It will be the day before Give Miami Day.
How about social media? Where can people connect with you guys on social media?
leapforladies.org, dragonflythrift.org, and dragonflythrift.org. It's an amazing thrift store. We're called a boutique because we only carry brand names, and we have and women's clothing, shoes, purses, home goods as well, and it's considered the #1 thrift store in Miami. So dragonflythrift.org.
Excellent. And how about you, Jen?
And Instagram, the Instagram handle is at Leap for Ladies.
Excellent. All right.
Well, I mean, you can find me on Facebook, my personal Facebook, Jennifer Perez, or Oviedo Metro Diner on Facebook. So we don't really have our own personal Facebook. The corporate runs it, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So now, for our audience that was on the fence or unsure, I'm sure that you've been properly motivated and enlightened and heartened by these amazing stories and all the good that Leap does. So, like I said before, if you're old school, write a check, mail it in. But there's a big donate button on their website. They take all major credit cards, debit cards, MasterCard, Discover. It's obviously every penny's going to a fantastic cause. Here, my friends, is the result. So could you imagine if we were able to multiply this many fold? So it's been such a pleasure speaking with you ladies today. Thank you so much. And I look forward to following your stories along the way.
Thank you, Gerard. We appreciate the invitation.
All right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Hello, friends. I'm going to start off this fresh take a little bit differently. I'm calling you friends because that's what I feel this is. My intention from the beginning of this podcast was to talk to you guys in my fresh take as if I were talking to friends of mine sitting on the couch in my living room. As much as I've been moved by so many of our prior episodes, I really want to talk seriously about this issue because it affects all of us. Just like healthcare, which we discussed at length with Patrick McNamara during the last episode, episode 15, there's certain institutions that have warped incentives when they're linked with profits. So I would put healthcare into that bucket, and I would certainly put the prison system into that bucket. What we need to focus on, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is that there is a cycle of imprisonment and recidivism that is in this country is supported by the fact that we want to punish people. We want them to pay cash bail. We want them to feel bad about what they did. Now, some of that is completely warranted. You have people that have committed atrocious crimes against other people. But at the end of the day, there has to be some form of middle ground where we as a country decide to focus on redemption rather than punishment. Look, a lot of prisoners and felons are really bad. I don't have a glassy-eyed view on that reality, okay? But sometimes people just make mistakes. I would suggest to you, if you don't understand the cycle of imprisonment and recidivism and how it kind of just feeds on itself and how money is involved in the entire process, I would really suggest that you watch the movie The 13th. It's a documentary, maybe it's on Netflix or whatever. It really explains that kind of process that you can't escape from, because when you go to jail, you have to pay money. They make it almost impossible for you to get out of that cycle. And unless you have some resources through your family or your friends, you're going to end up indefinitely in that cycle. And to tell you the truth, audience, there was a scene in The 13th where they referenced a deal that I did as a young corporate lawyer about a company that actually contributes to this cycle of recidivism. I was proud at the time that I had done that deal. But I didn't understand the ramifications of that deal at the time. And I was just acting as a lawyer. But things that we do have real world consequences. And when I saw the 13th, I was ashamed that I had contributed in any way to those consequences. And I'm admitting that publicly. So I think the response to that and the remedy for that is awareness and people to do their homework. And let's just focus on this issue. Let's just do better, including your host. Although we have a government that's supposed to be based theoretically on the separation between church and state, we all know that our ethics are guided by our values and our faith. Regardless of what you subscribe to, I still fail to understand why our prison system is not guided by these same principles. And having lived in other countries, particularly in Scandinavia, where they actively try to focus on redemption rather than punishment, I'm bewildered why we're not doing this here in America. I also was very heartened by the fact that LEAP teaches people how to become entrepreneurs. And what you've seen through so many of these interviews is that there's a lot of entrepreneurial incentive. In this case, it was a little bit different because it's kind of like, oh, well, usually you're trying to become an entrepreneur because you want to, escape the rigmarole of living in a cubicle, et cetera, et cetera. And because our structure, the incentives of our prison structure are so messed up, when we release people from prison that have served their time, we don't give them the tools to be everything that they want to be or deserve to be. Let's teach them how to be their own boss. And that is a lesson that I think that we should spread across America. And by the way, if you would like to see a real world manifestation of the impact that this organization has, then you can find the graduation photo that Jen mentioned on our website, freshmixpodcast.com. And if you're in the Miami area, you can RSVP to LEAP's annual pitch competition by visiting the link in our show notes. I'll tell you this, if you let people reclaim their lives with dignity, it lowers recidivism rates and it would help the economy. It's a win-win-win. And as an economist that has studied cost-benefit analysis at length, and as someone who's just a compassionate person and as someone who loves this country, let me make a very non-political statement. Help people be the best selves they can be. And why can't we apply that precept to people that have made a mistake? And if the government has determined that they can be free again and be in society again, is that going to be a punishment society? Or are we going to give them the tools to help them contribute to our society? I'm a little bit emotional during this because I really don't understand why we aren't shouting this from the rooftops. It should be a no-brainer. That's me and my obviously emotional fresh take. I'm looking forward to you guys listening in to the next episode of the Fresh Mix podcast. For details and show notes about today's show and our guest, go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback, both on today's guest and on my fresh take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for superfans of their shows, like Florida's Fresh Mix. So we all look forward to hanging out in there with you. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments and get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. And you can also leave us complaints about Florida, like for the fact that Florida really doesn't have many seasons. But it's really actually kind of awesome because you never know during Christmas whether or not you're going to have cold weather or not. This is a fact, I've actually been to the beach on New Year's Eve. Okay. And be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching Who's Fresh in the Florida Mix with the Florida Fresh Mix podcast.
Flintstone Media has been the digital messaging bedrock of several brands and businesses, serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house and consultancy firm for over 6 years. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. From show development and setup through recording and distribution, work with a leader in the industry and add a new podcast to your brand's content offerings. That's flintstonemedia.com.